Have you ever stopped to think about the engineering of a power trio? It is rock in its purest state. A guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer, with one or more of them pulling double duty as the vocalist. No backing musicians, no hidden keyboardists, and above all, no margin for error. The brilliance of this format lies in the balance. Each member must fill the sound with mastery, delivering maximum power with a minimum of elements. And today, we are going to honor some bands that reached the pinnacle with this lineup. Check it out now. 10 power trios that changed rock forever. Cream emerged in 1966 in England, bringing together three musicians already widely respected in the British scene. Eric Clapton on guitar and vocals, Jack Bruce on bass, keyboards and vocals, and Ginger Baker on drums. Clapton came from the Yardbirds and John Mayall in the Blues Breakers, while Bruce and Baker had played together in the Graham Bond organization. From the beginning, the group was conceived as a power trio, with each member having space to shine technically, although internal tensions marked their short trajectory. The lineup remained unchanged until the band's dissolution in 1968. Cream's importance to the history of rock is massive. They helped establish the power trio as a viable format for heavy and psychedelic rock, influencing generations of guitarists, bassists, and drummers. Albums like Fresh Cream, Disraeli Gears, and Wheels of Fire are absolute milestones, mixing blues, improvisation, psychedelia, and heaviness in a way that was unprecedented for the time.
I can hear the cries of the city, no time for pity.
The Jimi Hendrix Experience was formed in 1966, shortly after Jimi Hendrix moved to London, and was introduced to bassist Noel Redding and drummer Mitch Mitchell by manager Chaz Chandler, a former member of the Animals. Although Hendrix had already worked as a backing musician for R&B artists in the United States, it was in this trio that his artistic identity took its definitive shape. The classic lineup remained during the band's most fertile period, despite growing tensions, especially between Hendrix and Redding, which led to the group's end in 1969. The impact of the Jimi Hendrix Experience on rock is incalculable. Hendrix redefined the role of the electric guitar, exploring distortion, feedback, and effects like no one before. Albums like Are You Experienced, Access Bold as Love, and Electric Ladyland not only shaped psychedelic rock and hard rock, but also paved the way for heavy metal and new forms of sonic expression. BUDGIE was formed in late 1967 in Wales, initially with Burke Shelley on bass and vocals, Tony Borge on guitar, and Ray Phillips on drums. Initially, the group was a quartet, but it soon adopted the power trio format, betting on heavy riffs, high-pitched vocals, and a direct approach that would become its trademark. Although the band faced several drummer changes over the decades, the chemistry between Shelley and Borge during the 1970s consolidated the group's sonic identity and most influential period. Despite not achieving massive commercial success, Budgie is considered one of the pillars of hard rock and proto-metal. Their influence can clearly be heard in bands like Metallica, Iron Maiden, Van Halen, and Soundgarden. Albums like Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, In for the Kill, and Bandolier became cult favorites and helped build the bridge between 70s hard rock and the metal that was to follow. Rush was formed in 1968 in Toronto, initially composed of Geddy Lee on bass and vocals, Alex Lifeson on guitar, and John Rutsey on drums. In 1974, after the release of the first album, Rutsey left the group due to health issues and was replaced by Neil Peart, a change that sealed the band's classic and definitive lineup. From this milestone forward, Rush consolidated itself as one of the most sophisticated and technically ambitious power trios in history, with Peart also taking on the role of primary lyricist. Rush's relevance is monumental, serving as a foundation for progressive rock and modern hard rock. The trio elevated the power trio format to a technical and conceptual level rarely reached, combining virtuosity, rhythmic complexity, and deep lyrical themes. Works like 2112, Hemispheres, Permanent Waves, and Moving Pictures are considered essential, having influenced generations of musicians and defined new standards for what three instrumentalists can accomplish together. ZZ Top emerged in 1969 in Houston, Texas, consolidating with the arrival of Billy Gibbons on guitar and vocals, Dusty Hill on bass and vocals, and Frank Beard on drums. Gibbons had already played in Moving Sidewalks, while Hill and Beard came from American blues. This lineup remained unchanged for more than 5 decades, making ZZ Top the most stable power trio in rock history until the death of Dusty Hill in 2021. The trio became synonymous with boogie rock, blues rock, and an unmistakable visual aesthetic. With visceral riffs, hypnotic grooves, and a characteristic humor, the group crossed generations. Albums like Tres Hombres, Fandango, Eliminator, and Afterburner consolidated their legacy, proving that a trio could sound massive in both roots blues and the fusion with synthesizers that marked their 80s phase. Currently, the group continues on the road, with Elwood Francis taking over the bass, respecting Hill's final wish.
Here it's fine. You've got the time, baby.
Check out also our list of 10 rock bands with over 50 years of existence that are still on the road overflowing with energy. Click on the card appearing at the top of your screen.
Have you ever felt the night? Felt the
BANG was formed in 1971 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, composed of Frank Gilkin on guitar and vocals, Frank Ferrara on bass and vocals, and Tony DiOrio on drums. The group emerged under the heavy influence of British hard rock and nascent heavy metal, adopting the power trio format as the basis for a sound that balanced dark weight and melodic hooks. Although the band faced hiatuses and structural changes, the impact of its original lineup remains the pillar of its discography.
behind their weapons Have you ever felt the night? Felt the wind around?
Despite going unnoticed by the general public at the time, BANG is today revered in the underground of heavy rock and proto-metal. Their albums Bang, Mother, Bow to the King, and Music are constantly rediscovered, being considered hidden gems that anticipated the density of traditional metal and doom metal.
This to be out, make people over the outside. She felt in fun and pain. No matter what the price may be, she do the things you like to do. Come with me, boys, and see. Fearing eyes will be their fate. Those across the waterway. Have you ever felt the night? Felt the wind around you?
Come to my place, I tried it.
West, Bruce, and Laing was formed in 1972, consolidating as a supergroup that brought together Leslie West on guitar and vocals, Jack Bruce on bass and vocals, and Corky Laing on drums. West and Laing came from Mountain, while Bruce already enjoyed worldwide prestige for his seminal work in Cream. From the beginning, the trio was conceived as an impact force, fusing the colossal weight of American hard rock with the sophistication of improvisation and technical virtuosity.
She filled me with the love and dark lines they found to me. One with eyes, the other hit my door, hit my mind, hit my heart. There's something going on with you somehow.
Despite their short trajectory, the group left a relevant legacy for heavy rock. Albums like Why Don't Ya and Whatever Turns You On display a dense and vigorous sound, characterized by West's iconic riffs and Bruce's hyperactive bass lines. The trio served as a vital link between the expansive blues rock of the 60s and the more robust structure of heavy rock that would dominate the 70s.
She'll take me back again. Yeah, she'll take me back again. Turn me over. Let's see the other side. Turn me over. No place where we left 2 worlds apart. Don't you get it off the street.
BECK, BOGERT, and APPICE emerged in 1972, uniting the guitar genius of Jeff Beck with bassist Tim Bogert and drummer Carmine Appice. Bogert and Appice were alumni of the bands Vanilla Fudge and Cactus, while Beck had already carved his name in history with the Yardbirds and in his solo career. The lineup was idealized as a power trio of unique virtuosity, although creative differences and internal conflicts limited its longevity.
I walk you out in the morning dew.
Even with a brief discography, the trio is revered as one of the most technical in rock history. The self-titled studio album and the iconic Live in Japan reveal a group exploring hard rock, funk, and free improvisation with surgical precision. The band became a fundamental reference for instrumentalists seeking to fuse the weight of rock with the sophistication and groove of Black American music. Triumph was formed in 1975 in Toronto, bringing together Rick Emmett on guitar and vocals, Mike Levine on bass, and Gil Moore on drums and vocals. From its foundation, the group explored the possibilities of the power trio through elaborate vocal harmonies and a sound that fused hard rock with the melodic sophistication of AOR. The classic lineup remained unchanged throughout its most successful period, defining the band's identity until the late 1980s. The trio became one of the most popular forces in North American rock, conquering arenas with grandiose productions. Albums like Allied Forces, Never Surrender, and Thunder 7 consolidated their reputation by balancing vigorous riffs, refined technique, and a strong radio appeal. Triumph proved that a power trio could sound as imposing as larger bands, uniting the virtuosity of classical guitar and heavy rock with accessible melodies and stadium anthems. MOTÖRHEAD was founded in 1975 by Lemmy Kilmister on bass and vocals following his departure from Hawkwind. The classic lineup was consolidated with Fast Eddie Clarke on guitar and Phil "Filthy Animal" Taylor on drums, defining the most iconic trio in the band's history. It is worth noting that although immortalized as a power trio, the group operated as a quartet between 1984 and 1995, following the simultaneous inclusion of guitarists Phil Campbell and Wurzel. This two-guitar configuration gave a different density to the sound until the band definitively returned to the trio format in its final phase. MOTÖRHEAD's influence is transversal, uniting the tribes of hard rock, punk, and heavy metal. With a raw and fast sound, the band was the catalyst for the emergence of speed metal and thrash metal. Albums like Overkill, Bomber, and Ace of Spades are absolute classics and guaranteed MOTÖRHEAD an eternal place in the history of heavy rock. did you think of this journey through the brute force of rock? We went through legends who proved that with the right chemistry, 3 musicians can make the noise of an army. The universe of power trios is gigantic, and many incredible bands were left out of this first list. Therefore, answer in the comments, which trios cannot be missing from part 2? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapters of this series. Share this video with that friend of yours who also geeks out on heavy sound. Thanks a lot for watching this far, and remember, when the subject is rock, 3 is the maximum power.